Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Ryan Greigg, good morning, bud.
Good morning, Bob. What's up, everybody?
How you doing, man? Good to see you.
You as well, Bob. Thank you for having me today. I'm honored to be here with you.
Absolutely. So we'll let folks kind of slide into the room here. Hi, Frank and Mark and Michael and Mike. Donna Gilbert, good to see you. So we're gonna spend the next hour, and my friend Ryan, who I'll properly introduce here, or I'll kind of we'll co-introduce him, is gonna go through the Ben Kinney team's listing presentation. So Ryan, it's funny when I was talking to the salespeople, I'm like, this is the presentation that all of our place teams use. And we listed thousands of houses, and the marketing team's like, yeah, but most people can't kind of wrap their head around listing thousands of houses. So I put on the deck here 100 properties, but you guys in Bellingham, you'll use this a version of this to list more than 100 houses just up in Bellingham or Whatcom County this year. So guys, Ryan's used this on a lot more than 100 listings in his career. But you know, marketing folks like to give us a nice package deal here. So Chris Clark, just know if you want to list 200 houses this year and next year, bud, you could probably do it with this presentation. So let's jump in here, guys. Do me a favor. Feel free to chat in any questions that you guys have. Ryan is sitting in his office, and I can see his little board behind him that has some of the listings written down on it that he's probably taken with this listing presentation. He's up in Bellingham, Washington. I am in Seattle. Where are you guys at? Where are you guys joining us from at around the country? Sunny? Yes. At the end of this webinar, actually, it won't be right at the end. What we'll do is when we send out the recording for you guys, we're going to send out an editable version of this document that we're going to take you guys through. This listing presentation, we have it in an editable format. You'll even see as we go through here some of the places you can edit it. So yes, that will come out with the recording that will go out later this afternoon. So Sunny, that will be in your inbox. Asa in Seattle, awesome. We got friends in Texas and lots of Texas, North Carolina, Ryan, Buffalo, New York, Scottsdale, Arizona. Hi, Karen out in Naples, Florida, which is probably a lot warmer than it is here in Seattle, Ryan. All right, enough of all of that. Thank you, Andrew, for joining us. Even our friends north of the border, Ryan, are here today. Toronto in the house. All right, Andrew, this is our guy right here. His name's Ryan Greigg. Ryan, I've known you for years. You co-lead the Ben Kinney team in Bellingham with your partner Anthony Zapata. Your partners with Ben Kinney, powered by Place. Give me a little bit of your, I don't know, the stats, the bona fides, right? Why is April Edwards here listening to this guy? Like, what does this guy know? Tell me a little bit about Ryan Greigg.
Thank you, Bob. Like I said, I'm honored to be here. I'm partnered with Ben Kinney. I just celebrated my 9-year anniversary here this month, actually. So I've been working with Ben and Jeline and the team for 9 years. I had no experience in real estate prior to this. So one of the reasons I think you guys would get some value today is if I can do this, then anybody on this call can take this presentation and list as many homes as you can imagine. Frankly, if I can do this, anybody can list these 100 types of homes. So I've been here 9 years. My previous career was a DJ. I got into real estate because I had a son who was born and I was just traveling and touring too much and I needed to make a change in my life. My son is now 12 years old and he's one of the reasons that I'm here doing what I do. And I love real estate, Bob. I love real estate. I love talking about it. I love teaching it. I love meeting with clients. I love helping people build financial wealth through owning real estate. And I just shared this the other day with somebody. I was on a competitive listing situation, Bob, and I got the call with the good news that I got that listing, and it still gets my adrenaline going. Like it still gets me excited after doing this hundreds of times, after doing this for 9 years. I love taking listings. I love competitive listing situations, and I love to win. So this will help you all win in a competitive listing situation. And I'm here to just have a discussion with you guys today to give you some value on this, on the actual listing consultation itself, but also some of the other things that we need to know about pulling up to the property, about how we talk with the sellers, about how we sit with the sellers, about how we treat these clients. So I'm excited for today. If you have questions, put them into the chat. I'll do my best to address the questions as we go, but Bob will also help me make sure that if there's questions in there that we have to address, we'll make sure we get them all at the end as well. We're going to jump into this listing consultation, and my goal for today is for everybody to walk away with one piece they can implement right away. right? One thing that you can implement right away. So when you talk to a seller this afternoon or later today, you just go right to your head and you go, you know what, Ryan shared this today, and I have this right and ready to go. Before we jump into that, though, guys, Bob, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna I wanted to kind of jump right in, but if you have a before we jump in deal, give me the before. Yes, Shonda, everybody here is going to get a copy of this listing presentation. We're going to send it out with the recording. It's an editable version in a PDF, so it's a PDF that's editable. Absolutely, yes. Ryan,
Yeah.
real quick, before we jump in here and start talking, can you just, because you run a team, and I'm gonna guess that 9 years ago when you started working with Ben, he didn't just like find a listing opportunity and be like, Ryan, go out and good luck, right? Like, talk a little bit for me about the team you guys run today and kind of the structure you put around learning this listing presentation.
Oh yeah, that's a great place to start, Bob. No, Ben did not just say go take the listing, right? There was a lot of training involved. There was a lot of shadowing involved. And frankly, there was like tests that I took that I gave myself, Bob, because I found it important that education and learning is a priority in my life. Teaching this listing presentation keeps me sharp on it. And the ability to recite a lot of these things from the back of my head I think is really important for us. And that was what Ben taught me. He said, Ryan, you need to be able to write this on a napkin anytime, anywhere. I don't need to have a seller's guide to tell you, Bob. The reason that we're going to talk today is because there's 4 things that set us apart. There's 8 things that determine if your home will or will not sell for the most amount of money in the least amount of time. And lastly, Bob, we're going to talk about how we're going to market your property, specifically what we call the 5 buckets of online marketing. So I tell them what I'm going to tell them, right? I break the consultation presentation down. I say, Bob, here's what we're going to cover. 4 things that set us apart, 8 things that get you the most amount of money in the most convenient way. And lastly, we'll cover how we're going to market your property, specifically the 5 ways we're going to market your property online, what we call the 5 buckets of online marketing. And they go, great. That sounds great. Then I tell them each one of those things in detail, and I use each one of those things, Bob, to go for the close, because that was what Ben taught me. You can't just present all this and ask for the close at the end. And I'll give you guys some examples of that along the way. We're asking for the close multiple times. I am fearless in this conversation, right, Bob? Because I know it might take 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 10 times of asking them that. So I ask it different ways each time with that close, right? And that's what our team has been trained to do. I sell 50 to 60 properties a year. I did just under $30 million in volume last year with myself and one agent as my partner, Ryan Randall, who, by the way, is teaching a buyer certification course right now also. So between the two of us, we did just under $30 million in volume last year alone. Like Bob said, Anthony Zapata and I co-lead our team of the Bellingham Ben Kinney team, and we do hundreds of transactions using this listing presentation every year.
All right, Ryan. So let's just get into it. And when you're going to do a listing presentation, in my head, I think get into it. We're like at the table with the seller, like ready to give the presentation. But there's a whole kind of methodology of even getting to the table, right? So you pull up at the house, Ryan. You pull up at the house, like lay it out for me. Like, how do you approach the house? Are you parking on their front lawn? Like what's going on here as you pull up to the house?
Yeah, let's talk about that, Bob. But before we talk about that, I want to give you guys what we call the 5-minute listing presentation, Bob.
Okay.
Because if we have good rapport with the client, we've been talking with them regularly, and finally they call us and they say, Bob, you know what? I'm ready to sell. You've followed up with me for 2 years. You've told me everything you're going to do to market the property. Can you come list my property? That listing presentation sounds something like this. Absolutely, Bob. I'm really looking forward to coming meeting with you. And hey, real quick question for you. When I come to the property and when I'm at the property, other than price, Bob, is there anything that we need to discuss today before we take care of the paperwork? I want you all to get that, right? Because that can turn an hour and a half meeting into a 5-minute listing presentation, because you've already built rapport. You've already told them what you're going to do to get the property sold. Why spend an hour or 2 hours going through all that if we don't have to? Now,
Like they picked you, Ryan. They were like, hey, can you come here and list my house? And
yeah,
really at that point, like all this listing presentation might do is turn them off if they've already decided you're the guy.
we start talking ourselves out of the deal. We start convincing them as to reasons why maybe, hold on, now I have all these questions. So that 5-minute listing presentation, guys, keep that in your back pocket because it's really powerful and it will work because you've followed up with them, you've built rapport with them. So Bob, other than price, is there anything we should discuss today before we take care of the paperwork? Because then they say, no, just wanted to talk about price and let's execute the agreement. Perfect, right? Now, if everything was like that, life would be way too easy. So that's not always the case. We work super hard, Bob. It might be you called somebody one time and you got lucky and you get over there. You might have called them 100 times and spent 3 years following up or 5 years following up. And finally, we get the at bat, Bob. Like this is the most important moment of my real estate careers. I finally got that at bat, right? This is it. This is my time. So
Wait, did you
this,
do that for me? I told you I was all about baseball references and you just threw in that bat. I love it. I love
yeah,
it.
I did that. I would have gone soccer, but I knew I was with you today, Bob. But guys, we get that at bat. This is our chance. This is your time to shine. This is where all your hard work is paid off. And this is where you're going to earn the opportunity to put this client's property on the market. So the setup, right? Before we even get into the house, what does that look like? Where do we park? How do we knock? How do we dress? Do we have our materials prepared? Right? Think about it like this. When that seller expects you to come to their house, they might be looking out their window when you pull up. They probably are because they're hopefully excited to see you. So are all of your materials printed and in a nice packet ready to go? Is your coat nice? Is your shirt pressed? Is your dress ready? Is your hair done? Is your makeup done? Is everything ready before you get to that house? Because guess what? You don't want to get to the house and pull your car into the driveway and they're watching you and you're looking for your stuff and you're cleaning up. No, as soon as we pull up to that house, Bob, it's go time, right? It's go time. So we want to park off to the side. We don't want to park in the driveway because what if they're just getting home and they park right behind you? Awkward right from the start. So we want to park off to the side. And we might walk up, Bob. I got my phone and I'm walking up to the house. I'm kind of going like this. And they're seeing me out the window going, what the heck's Ryan doing out there? And uh, I got a lockbox in my hand, right? So I'm like looking around. So I'm walking up to the house, Bob, and I'm already trial closing them. You guys get that? I'm already trial closing them because when they come out, I'm like, this photo's going to look so good, Bob. Like, this is the angle right here. Now, Bob, I don't take photos with my phone, but I know my photographer. He's going to love this angle. Hold on. Can you imagine how good these photos are going to look? And they're going to say, I know, I can't wait. That's a trial close. They just said yes, right? So we're trial closing, right? Hey, Bob, I got the lockbox here. I'm thinking it would go best on the rail to the side and not on the door. Do you think that'd be the best place for this lockbox? If they said yes, they're in agreement. They want to work with us. So take those little cues right when we get to the house. Now we're in the house, right? We're in the house. No matter what, guys, we always want to take our shoes off. We're always taking our shoes off. They might say, no, don't worry about it. That's okay. The house is messed up. But I'm always saying, hey, Bob, let me just take my shoes off because it's the courteous thing to do. It's the right thing to do. And then comes the tour. I wanted to share a story with you guys just from last week when I did this, right? I walked into the property. Dan sat here, Bob. Darlene sat here, which put me right into the middle. So I would have had to say, well, Darlene, here's what I think we could do. Well, Dan, here. We don't want that, Bob. So right when we walk in the house, we'd say something like, Bob, I'm really looking forward to touring your property today. Thank you so much for having me over. Hey, when we're done touring the property, where are we going to sit where I can leave all my materials so that we can review them? And they'll say something like this, and he'll say, perfect. Hey, Dan, hey, Darlene, could I have you guys kind of huddle up over on this same side together so I can give both of you my full attention? And they said, oh, sure. But here's what happened that was cool, Bob. The next time I went back there to meet with Dan and Darlene and their son and daughter and their daughter, and so 6 people, Darlene said, hey, guys, don't sit over there. Ryan wants us to all sit on this side. So like I instructed them, right? So it's important that we're able to have that conversation without back and forth. Because guess what? Darlene's going to feel like I'm talking to Dan more, or Dan's going to feel like I'm talking to Darlene more. And we don't want that. So we have all of our information. Now, the preparation is important. So we've got the listing consultation guide. We've got our market analysis, our comparable properties. We have everything we need. We have a net proceeds sheet in there, Bob. We have a listing agreement in there, guys. You never, ever, ever go to a listing appointment or even a valuation appointment without at least a listing agreement that can be filled out on the spot. But in a perfect world, I've asked my team to provide everything for me, and I show up and it's already highlighted and very easy for them to look at.
All right. So this is real quick. Go back.
Yep.
I left that in there on purpose. No, go back to this next. Yeah, guys, like I said, you're gonna get this next set of slides we're going through. You're gonna get your hands on these, and it's editable, so you'll be able to slap your logo on there you take the Powered by Brivity thing at the bottom off, right? Like you'll be able to edit all of the rest of the slides in here to match and mirror what you may do. Now, I will tell you, as Ryan goes through this presentation, many of the things he discusses and covers in here are functions and features of the software that he uses to run his business, which happens to be Brivity. So you guys are here. This is you can see over my shoulder and on my hat. This is a Brivity webinar. You'll get this presentation. I don't know if they can use it all, Ryan, because I don't know what tools they each have in their own individual businesses, but you guys will see how he seamlessly kind of laces the technology his team uses throughout, and the slides will highlight that. So this was left in here to let them know you guys are going to be able to edit this, slap your own logo on there. Ryan, I promise, does not go out with a listing presentation that says your logo goes here.
Yeah, and this is great. I mean, how much value are we giving everybody on here? Like, we're giving you everything you need, and you can just customize it and make it your own. So my goal today would be to give you guys what I'm doing, but more importantly, how that can apply to you specifically, right? So you can put your logo in right here. You can have this beautiful guide, and then you can jump in and you can start talking about the things that are important to them. For example, the number one complaint in real estate, Bob, was that the agent put the property on the market, and frankly, I had no idea what they were doing to get my property sold. So what's really important to me today, Bob, is communication. And clearly this is a Brivity webinar, and we know why Brivity was built, right? So that you can get 24-hour access to your client portal. You can log in, you can see everything that's being done. You can see over 200 different tasks from contract to close being done. You can log in there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, I like to add, Bob, this is a supplement to my communication with you personally. You're going to be hearing from me regularly as well, when the showings will happen, what the feedback was like, and everything you need to know to get this property sold. So our communication is ultra important with you, but ultimately, guys, we need to know what's going to make this property sell. We need to know what's going to make this property sell, right? And we need to be able to talk about that. And more importantly, Bob, maybe even ask this client what's most important to them about getting their property sold, because we know what's going to make their property sell for top dollar. So let's go over that, right? Let's go over the 4 things that's going to make sure we get this person the highest price for their home. And we used to say, guys, most amount of money in the least amount of time. But Bob, I lost some people saying that, because some people said, you know what, I'm not in a big rush to sell. I'd like to get the most amount of money, but if it took me a month or 2, I'm okay with that. So we changed that and said the most amount of money in the most convenient way.
Mm.
Not everybody wants a fast sale. And I lost some people saying that. They said, well, I'm not in a rush, right? So step number 1, we got to know what determines if a property will or will not sell. I like to say it like this, Bob, we know 4 things will determine if your property will or will not sell. Number 1 is how well it's priced. Number 2 is how well it shows. Number 3 is how it's marketed. And number 4 is how we, as your licensed professional, communicate with you, the agents, the prospective buyers, and everybody else involved in the transaction. And then we would go into each one of these in detail, right? So, Mr. and Miss Seller, let's talk about pricing. Let's talk about how we ensure you get top dollar for the sale of your home using our pricing strategy. In fact, Bob, this is a pricing strategy that we have trademarked. It's the exact same process to what an appraiser is going to use. And this is the process called the 555 pricing strategy. We know it's the most accurate and most commonly used pricing strategy in all of real estate, right? And you guys all know how to do this. And if you don't, Brivity CMA is super cool for this. Like Brivity CMA, I encourage you all, if you're not familiar with that, go play around with it. Take your home, whether it's your own home or your address of a rental or your parents' home, and just go play with this technology. In fact, I encourage that with all of Brivity. There's so many cool features in there that if we're not using it regularly, testing it out regularly, we're missing out. So the 555 pricing strategy done with the Brivity CMA is an incredibly powerful tool that you guys can use with Brivity to give them an idea of the active properties, the pending properties, and of course, the sold properties.
Ryan, this is not, so let me just really quick for the audience here. Pricing is its own unique thing, right? And the discussion you have with the seller about exactly how you're going to price their home it's its own kind of animal outside of presenting to them all you're going to do to get the house sold. So we're going to set pricing aside. You
Yeah.
mention it here, but you're not diving in and pulling all the comps out at this stage, right? That's coming like kind of towards the end after you've got an agreement that you're the guy that could get this job done for them, assuming we can agree on the price.
That's a super good point, Bob. Two reasons. Yes, so I'm bringing up pricing now, but I'm not talking about the pricing. And this is where I have lost people. Number one, they go, so speaking of pricing, what do you think it's worth, Ryan? And then I pivot and I get into the pricing before I've given
Okay.
them all my value. So two things, guys, leave the pricing for last. Give them the value of what you're going to do for them before you talk about pricing. And when they ask about pricing, say, you know what, Mr. and Miss Seller, we're absolutely going to get to that. I brought all of the properties that we need to look at, and together we're going to pick the price. Because you see, my job, Bob, is to provide you the data of what properties similar to yours in a similar price and location are selling for. But ultimately, Bob, this is your property and you're going to pick the price. Do you guys hear what I said there? Because I don't want somebody thinking, well, Ryan told me the price and I didn't like that price, so I'm going with somebody else. I want to show them the comparables, and pricing is, we could spend an hour on pricing, right? But I want to show them the properties and then at the end say, Bob, based off of looking at based off looking at these properties, what do you think we should price your property at? And I know in my head what it should be, but I want Bob to tell me. For example, I have a property going on the market today. I thought we could have priced it 950, 950. After showing the property comparables, the seller said, let's go at 915. And I went, sweet, even better. We'll get a good quick sale because that's what they want. So pricing, right? Pricing. Get really good at this, guys. And if you need help, have somebody else in your office help you. Get a second, get a third opinion. Pricing is super important. It's the most important. But it's not the only thing, right? How well it's priced and how well it shows. Step number two. So we're going to help you make the listing shine because we know, guys, that today's buyers, they have everything they need to see these properties. Today's buyers see everything online. So we need to make sure that when they see that property online, it looks as perfect as possible. And we not only get them to see it online, but encourage them to get a tour, to come into the home, right? Now we're going to do that through things like our professional photography, video editing, our staging and virtual staging, and our virtual tours. One thing that I'm doing on each one of these pages, guys, is I'm saying something like, hey, Bob, do you have any questions on what we're going to do there? Perfect, no questions. So it sounds like so far this is a plan that will work for you. Am I right? Yeah, this sounds great. It sounds like a plan that'll work for me. Okay, great.
Trial close. Yeah.
Yeah. Bob, hey, it sounds like we've got a good plan to get your property sold. Do you want me to keep going on this or should we just jump into the listing agreement? What if Bob says, no, this is great. This is great, Ryan. I just wanted to know what you're going to do to price my property and I'm in agreement on the price. Perfect. Let's take care of this listing agreement. Now, guys, I'm still going through this. If they sign that, I'm going to breeze through all this stuff because I want them to know what I'm going to do to get the property sold. But also, Bob, I've learned we sometimes do ourselves a disservice with a sphere or a referral or kind of a tee-up type listing because we go over there, say, hey, Bob, your mother told me to come over and sell your property. I'm excited, man. Hey, let's just sign this agreement. Bob walks away, and guess what? Bob goes down to the store to get a coffee, and he talks with the barista, and he goes, I'm selling my house. And they go, wow, who'd you choose? And he goes, I chose Ryan Greigg. And they go, wow, that's cool. What's he going to do to get the property sold? And Bob goes, I don't know. He's just a good guy. We don't want that. We want Bob to say, you know what? He was a really good guy. He was referred to me and he's going to do this and this and this. I didn't even know they did that. He's going to do this and this and this. So the barista now goes, whoa, I need to talk to Ryan. So we're training our clients of everything we're going to do. We don't want to just assume that we got this. We want them to know. So how well it's priced, how well it shows, now how it's marketed, right? Guys, we know everybody's looking online. We know over 90% of people start their search online. They start their search online, Bob, 90+%. But check this out, guys. 52% found their home online. So just over half the people actually found their home online. That's why we know how important the online marketing is. But I also love that little chunk down there in the bottom left corner, because that to me is saying real estate agents are still important. 28% Almost a third of people found their home from a professional realtor like me that told them about it. So I'm going to market your property to the top 10% of realtors, just like myself, because I communicate with them regularly and make sure they know about it as well. Now, we're not going to leave out of the traditional marketing, Bob, like the yard signs, open houses. We're going to make sure that we're doing it all. Was there anything that I didn't tell you that we would do to market your property that was important to you or that I just forgot to talk about?
Are you going to put it on Zillow and all those websites I see on the internet?
I'm so glad you asked that, Bob, because I'm actually going to go into detail on that when we talk about how we market our properties online, specifically places like Zillow, excuse me, Zillow and other what we call listing portals. Yeah, so I'll get into that, Bob. Any other questions though?
No, let's go.
Okay, right. Now we're talking about how specifically we're marketing this property to top agents. Now, this is important, guys. This is what keeps you in touch with the top agents. Take pride in your listing. Let all the agents know about it. Send them that electronic flyer via a text message. Talk about it in the office meetings. You know, Bob, you talk about Katie Sentinella all the time. Katie's one of my favorite agents in the world. She is fearless about everything, but she will tell everybody in our office about her new listings. Hey, did you see my new listing? Hey, did you see my new listing? And it's like, yeah, yeah, Katie, I saw it, but she makes sure I saw it. She makes sure everybody saw it. And we should be super proud of this, right? Now, making sure that we're marketing to the agents. This will go into detail on that. It also then, like I said, guys, it reaffirms to your seller, to your clients, the importance of agents, and especially right now with all the changes in buyer broker commissions, right? Saying, hey, look, in fact, a third of people found their home by the agent telling them that's why it's important that we do offer a buyer broker commission.
So this is in here. So Ryan, and
Yeah.
I know this is like changing right now, right? It the this all the new NAR and just separating buyer and seller commissions and all this.
Yeah.
This slide in here, I know is kind of new for you guys. Are you like kind of letting them know? Is this a setup here? Is it like, hey, because a lot of times an agent's the one that brings the buyer, we're going to have a chance later when we talk about pricing to decide what we want to potentially offer. Are you setting it up here, or are you right here like bringing up commission, or are you punting that down to the pricing discussion?
I am punting commission down to the pricing discussion, Bob. However, I am bringing it up here and talking about that. And when we look at pricing, depending on your MLS, it might be different, but typically we found that most people's MLS will show what the cooperating buyer broker was paid. So when I'm looking at all the other properties, I just did this the other day, we look at all the properties and I say, and so this one offered 2.5% to the buyer broker. This one offered 2.5% to the buyer broker. This one offered 3% to the buyer broker. Bob, it looks like on average, they're offering somewhere around there. You do have a right to choose whatever you want. What do you think we should offer? Most people are going to say, well, it looks like most people are offering 2 to 2.5%. We should probably offer that, shouldn't we? And then you're going to get somebody that says, can we offer nothing? You're going to get that. They're going to say, well, why do we have to offer a buyer broker, or can we offer zero? And you can say, you absolutely can, Bob. And looking at the data last year, we found that 86% of properties sold with a cooperating broker. In other words, 14% of properties sold without a cooperating broker. Are you willing to leave 80%, 86% of the buyers out there on the table without paying a cooperating broker? 86% is a big number. Most people are going to go, whoa, I didn't know it was so much. No, I'll definitely offer something. Yeah. And if you have questions on that, we can dive into that later. I want to make sure I get through this, but we'll leave plenty of time here at the end for additional questions. Right. So now we're working our way into the marketing section. Yeah. Now we're working our way into the marketing section. And guys, this is before we go into this appointment, we want to ask them a couple questions like, Mr. Misseller, before I come meet with you on Friday, I'm just curious, what is most important to you about the professional that you're going to hire to help you find the right buyer for your property? Oftentimes they say something like, I just want to know how you're going to market my property. Don't all agents market it the same? What are you going to do to market my property online? How are you going to find buyers? That's the most common thing I hear. And so I get really passionate about this online marketing. And I keep in mind, guys, my energy should pick up towards the end of this presentation. So when it comes time for the close, they are like, yeah, Ryan, this is oh my gosh, wow, yes, 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 and yes. So then I say, sweet, sign here, and they're blown away. So we want to pick the energy up. That makes sense. We want to like end on a really strong note and excitement. So this is where I start to kind of get into that. I say, Bob, now I'm going to talk with you about how we're going to market your property. And I love this. I get really passionate about this. So if I start going too fast, just slow me down. But here's where we're going to talk about
I'm all
marketing.
about it. Let's go. Let's go.
Here's where we're going to talk about marketing your property, Bob, and specifically how we're going to market your property online is what we call the 5 buckets of online marketing. And this is super cool. And I know you asked about this earlier. And a common question that I get and that you all will get depending on which brokerage you're at is, Bob, I know you're with Keller Williams. When I list with you, will my property go out to other brokerage websites? So bucket number one is brokerage websites. And absolutely, Bob, as soon as you list with me, right? Embedded command. As soon as you list with me, as soon as we have a signed agreement, my team can get to work and the listing will automatically syndicate out through all other brokerage websites. So we want to remember trial close along the way, embedded commands along the way when you list with me, right? Plant those in every step along the way. The second place, Bob, where we're going to market your property online, this is places like listing portals, right? We're going to make sure your property is a featured property and a showcase property on places like Zillow, Trulia, and Realtor.com. Now, I add this on. If you guys don't do this, you can either start doing it or just leave it out. But I can say, and Bob, one of the things that's going to set me apart with the listing portal is my team spent about $7,000 last month alone on Zillow. Pause. That's a big number. That's an impactful number, but they often don't know what the average agent spent. Bob, did you know that the average agent spent about $500 all last year marketing their properties? We spent 7,000 bucks last month on Zillow. So to put that in perspective, if you're interviewing other agents, just ask them, what are they spending on one of these 5 buckets alone, such as a listing portal? The next one is our search engines. And this is super cool, guys. In fact, if you come to my office, you're going to see right on the other side of my wall, our marketing team, our marketing department, because everything we do is in-house. We're a local based company and everything we do is done in-house, including our search engine optimization, otherwise known as SEO. What that means is whether you're going to Google, Bing, Yahoo, or any online search, our paid and organic ads are going to pop up first. So when they search real estate in Bellingham or they search waterfront listings, your property will come up first. The fourth place where we're going to market your property online is through classified services. And I get this all the time. People ask, do clients actually look on classified services? A couple of years ago, we sold a $1.4 million airport through Craigslist because a gentleman was looking for a rental and he found our property. A couple of years later, I had a property for sale and we go into Craigslist, my virtual assistants, every 48 hours. Every 48 hours, they're continuing to update those. And I had somebody reach out on Craigslist, Bob, and they said, hey, Ryan, I saw you have an open house on Sunday. I can't make that open house, but could you show it to me on Saturday? I met them at the property on Saturday night. We wrote an offer on the kitchen table and I double-ended that deal. That was directly based from Craigslist, so a classified service. So you hear what I'm saying? I'm telling stories with each one of these guys. And lastly, Bob, social media. I love using social media, and I know most people these days have either Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram or one sort. Which type do you use? I'll ask them. And I say, this is a
Instagram. I'm an Instagram guy. I'm too old to be a what's the hip fancy one? TikTok. I'm too old for that.
yeah, I'm right there with you, Bob. And I love how our team is marketing properties through Instagram. We're doing paid ads, we're doing boosted ads, and every time I list a property, the really cool thing that happens is I post that property on my Facebook page and my Instagram page, which syndicate together. I tag 12 agents on my team, so it syndicates to their pages. They then share it, which syndicates out to multiple people all at once. Plus, Bob, we give you all the tools to share the property with all your friends and family through social media as well. Have I left anything out about how we're going to market your property online, or do you have any questions based off that?
No, Jacqueline. So Jacqueline said, when somebody's first getting started, like, how do you represent what you might be spending on, Zillow, or you don't? Like, there's a couple ways. Either you don't, and you don't have to be, right? That's obviously extra impact that Ryan's leaning into the listing presentation here. The other thing I would say that I think a lot of you guys don't take advantage of is your broker or your brokerage, right? So I know Ben Kinney early on when he would go out to a listing presentation and he'd only listed 5 properties. He'd talk about the fact that last month his brokerage, right? Last month my brokerage listed 85 properties here in Bellingham. Like, he didn't list any of those, but the power of his group, whatever that group might be, for some people that's they're on a team, for some people that's a brokerage. So Jacqueline, you may lean into kind of the bona fides or the numbers of your brokerage potentially.
Yeah, I just did that 2 weeks ago, Bob. I knew I was on a competitive listing situation. So I looked and they told me sometimes they'll tell you who you're competing against, sometimes they won't. But I will ask if they say we're interviewing multiple brokers. I say, great, most people do. Who else are you interviewing? And sometimes they'll tell me, sometimes they won't. But if I can find out, then it's game on because guess what? I can go search their stats. And so when I went on this appointment a couple weeks ago, the agent that I was competing with had one active listing, and it was in Blaine, which is not Bellingham where the listing was. Fortunately for me, I had just put 3 listings up in Bellingham, in addition to my team and Keller Williams brokerage. So it was like 15 listings we had put up within a couple of weeks compared to his one. Very easy way. Now, again, to answer that question, even though I have plenty of sales, I used our team sales and the entire brokerage sales. So if you're a brand new agent, just use your brokerage, like Bob said, or find the team that you're with, find your partner that you're with. We are a member of our team, and that's a big part of being the member is that we have that ability to use the resume, right?
Yeah, Craig's saying that right now. He said, the power of my team numbers has helped me land listings. Look, I'm a firm. No disrespect to whatever decisions you guys have made as you've started your real estate careers or you're into your real estate careers. I'm a firm believer, Ryan, that like early on joining a team, if for nothing else, to get the structure and really understand how to build a big business. But a lot of that's like Craig said, the leverage of what that team can allow me to go out and say and feel confident saying, like, our team did sell 200 houses last year, even though Ryan only sold 8 of them or 12, or in Ryan's your case 50. But big believer in the power of a team, Craig. So thanks for that comment. All right, Ryan, moving on here.
Absolutely, yeah. And Bob, I stayed on this slide here to talk about all those, but as you guys see, this listing presentation can go through detail. So I would say brokerage websites and touch on that. Then I would say through the search engine optimization. So there's detail to go with each one of these, right? And I can go as far as I want with this, or maybe if it's not my strength, I don't go quite as far, right? Right. And so now we've moved away from what we call 5 buckets of online marketing. And now we're talking about traditional marketing because we don't want to leave any buyer on the table. We want to make sure we're reaching every single buyer, including the ones that might see a yard sign, that might pop by for an open house. That just was communicated with through networking. Maybe they were a neighbor, or maybe even they're just that 1% of people that found it through print advertising. But guess what? This afternoon, I have a beautiful new listing going live. I'm printing 20 flyers and I'm going and knocking that entire neighborhood. I don't know if I'm going to get anybody because only 1% of people find that. But you know what? I'm still doing it because I do everything, Bob, to get this property sold. I do everything to get your property sold, even if it's just the 1%. I'm not leaving any buyer out there and leaving anything to chance. If you're okay with it, we'll put a nice yard sign out front, including what we call a digital flyer. Now, a lot of people ask about flyers, Bob, and we stopped doing that a long time ago because oftentimes people will come up, they would grab the flyer, and I'd show back up to the house to an empty box of flyers, but I wouldn't get anybody's phone numbers or way to reach out to them. So we actually eliminated that. And the best way for them to get that flyer is just by texting us. They'll get the information immediately. But Bob, the cool thing about that is I get their information. So I can call them right away and say, Bob, hey, I saw you reached out and we're curious about that property I've got for sale. I got to get you in there. When's a good time to go take a look? Do you want to go today or is tomorrow better? Right? Get them in that house as quickly as you can. We talked about the networking, both with our clients, our sphere, our past clients, and agents. The print advertising that's going to go out around that. Again, back to being proud about your listings. I have a $900,000 listing going live today. I'm excited about that. I love real estate. I love helping people. This was a competitive situation. I won. I'm excited. I'm going to go to these doors and like this is a fun thing to do. So mindset here, guys. Bob, I talk about mindset and attitude a lot. Like, is your mindset right behind this? Are you out there having fun with what you do and being professional with what you do?
By the way, you don't send postcards when you take a listing. Awesome. Take that slide out. Right, Ryan? Like this thing's
Yeah.
editable, so they can go in there. You guys want to use portions of this? You want to just maybe you're just like, you know what? I'm going to take 10 of these slides out of here. I'm going to add it to my existing listing presentation to bone it up or enhance it. Cool. You'll be able to do that too. But yeah, you don't send print advertising, which you can easily do out of Brivity, trackable, and all this fun stuff. Yank that slide.
That's right. Yeah, and that's the great thing about this is you can really take just the template of it, the skeleton, and address it and make it yours. But again, remember how the structure of this work. Bob, today we're going to talk about 4 things that set us apart. So if you're an individual agent, if you're not part of a team, what are the things that set you apart? What are the things that set you apart? So I'm talking about specifically 4 things that set us apart. For me, that's how I work as a team. That's my track record, transparency in how I communicate, and how I market your properties. So
Transparency in how you communicate. I think that's your next deal. Look at you. You've done this before.
right? So I'm talking about 4 things that set us apart, 8 things that get your property sold for the most amount of money in the most convenient way, and lastly, how we're going to market your property, specifically the 5 buckets of online marketing. That's the whole presentation right there. So for you guys, if you don't use this stuff, what sets you apart? Well, the things that sell the property are probably going to be mostly the same. So lastly, how are you going to market the property? Crystal clear communication. So this allows us to get buyer feedback, agent feedback, the marketing feedback, and the market updates, all the important information that we need to know, Bob, because if your property's not selling, we need to know why. We need to know why. And this is going to get us all the information. It's also going to make it easy for buyers to find your house because they're going to see it through our cutting edge technology, through sending out listing alerts. Also, when we send out those listing alerts, we can see when they've seen them. We can see when they've favorited them. We can see when they've looked at one multiple times and come up with a story as to why they looked at it at 9 in the morning and then again later in the day. And then we can pick up the phone and we can call them to make sure they can get into your property. And when they get into the property, Bob, you're going to know exactly what they said. If they're not making an offer, we want to know why. So you're going to get all that showing feedback. You'll hear from me either that day or the following day with what the agent said, as well as what the client said. You're also going to see all of the marketing feedback, all the marketing feedback that go along with the property, as well as the market updates. Now, this is important, and this is a great tool for you to have all of your clients on, market reports. Now, the seller can see this and they can say, oh, shoot, my neighbor's house had an offer accepted. Wait a minute, why was that? So they'll be in the loop of what's going on in the market as well through the market updates.
Super powerful, by the way, right, Ryan? Like when you're getting ready to have to ask for a price reduction because it's been out there for 2 months now. If they've been looking at those things and what's going on, it makes it easier, right? Like you said, they saw their neighbor's house 3 doors down sell, and of course it did. It was listed where you kind of suggested it should have been, right?
Right. And now the data is speaking for us, right? The data is speaking for us in that regard. And the data in the market is saying, Mr. Seller, your home might be a bit overpriced. Look, that one's sold.
This might be my favorite one right here. Like this might be my favorite thing of all of the slides and the functionality inside of Brivity.
Yeah, and again, now I'm like, I'm so excited right now. The seller should be super excited. We should be like in agreement with each other. And now this is where I'm going to just nail this coffin, Bob, because I'm going to say, Mr. Seller, so here's what we're going to do next. This is super exciting. And this is some unbelievable technology that our team has created. As soon as you list with me, as soon as we have a signed agreement, my team can get to work. And I'll pull up, I could pull it up here, but it says right here on here, right? Make sure I get that yet. So as soon as you list with me and we have a signed agreement, my team can get to work. And what we're going to do, Bob, is I'm going to go into my database that we've been building over the last 20 years that currently has 180,000 people. And I'm going to go in there and I can find everybody that has ever looked at a property within $100,000 of yours. So if yours is at 600,000, we'll look everybody from 500,000 to 700,000 on average, Bob. In fact, when I did this last night, It was 1,200 people in my database, of our team's database. 1,200 people. And I did this in front of the seller. I said, can I just show you how many people we have in our buyer database right now that I will call as soon as we have a signed agreement? And they say, sure. And I do that right there on the spot with them. And when I did this last night, it was 1,200 people. Then I went one step further and I said, hold on, Bob, but let me show you that these people are active. And I went into Brivity and I clicked on most recent. And 50 people on that first page had searched within the last 2 days.
Yeah. That's
So,
super powerful.
right. So now I can say, look, Bob, I have 50 people that have searched for a property like yours in the last 2 days. As soon as we have a signed agreement, I can get to work calling these people. How's that sound? So you're gonna go, that's incredible. And you're going to say, hey, I know you mentioned talking with another agent, and they said they had a buyer database. What did their buyer database look like? And did they tell you they had 1,200 people they were willing to call? They might have said, I have buyers. Something weak like that,
I mean,
right?
that's the mic drop to me. Like that one piece of functionality. Now, granted, you guys have a big database, but anybody in Brivity, you got 2,000 people in your database, or even 200. Like you can have that type of a showcase for your your potential seller, right? Even if it's, I got 5 people in here that are looking at a house just like yours, we're going to call them all. We're going to make sure we talk to them and see if they want to come out and look at yours, because they're looking at other houses just like yours.
That's right. That's right. And that, again, so now, right, last slide here. Here's the next steps, Bob. So before I would jump into this part of the print or the slide, I would say, isn't that amazing? Going back to that prospecting through my buyers. Isn't that incredible, Bob? You know what? I'm really looking forward to getting to work for you on this. So here's the next steps. Or I would say, did you have any other questions prior to talking next steps? Because most by now, they're going to say, no, this is incredible. This is unbelievable. I had no idea what you would do to get the property sold. I'm on board. What do I got to do? Well, here's what we're going to do next. Now we're going to look at the pricing, because they're blown away. They're on board. They know my value proposition. Let's talk pricing. I'm going to provide you the data, and together we're going to come up with a price that we want to list the property at, that we feel it's going to get the most activity, right? We're going to complete the agreement. In fact, I have the agreement here. I've already signed the agreement. The highlighted spots show the places where you're assigned as well. Why don't we go ahead and take care of the rest? Take care of this, and I'll email you the rest. Lots of different ways you can do that. Sometimes I even have the listing agreement already in Authentisign, the online signing program. So like I said, this sounds great, Bob. All you have to do now is open your email and click your way through. Here's some good other trial closes. When I walked up the house and I started talking about photos, a couple trial closes throughout, I would say something like, wow, these photos are looking really nice, Bob. I looked at the weather this weekend. Looks like it's going to be really beautiful on Friday and Saturday, but Monday and Tuesday are looking overcast. Would it be okay if we scheduled the photos for Friday? Because if they say yes, guess what? We're in agreement. Right. Perfect, Bob. Let's do this. We can get photos Friday and we can have the property on the market by next Wednesday. How's that sound? Oh my gosh, that would be great. Now the marketing takes over and we get the job done. There you go.
All right, here's the deal. So some of these folks are not Brivity clients. Some of them are. If you guys are Brivity clients, you're going to download that thing. You got all these tools at your disposal. I hope you know how to use them all, the reverse prospecting ones specifically. If you're not, hey, pull that back up, Ryan. Do me a favor, pull that back up. Just leave that on there for a second. If you're not a Brivity client, do yourself a favor, like go get a demo of Brivity. Like all these tools he was talking about, the reverse prospecting, the market report functionality, the client portal that Ryan's team uses to keep that communication going out to the client as the transaction's unfolding and all the tasks are getting completed. These are all functionalities of the Brivity platform, this end-to-end system to run your business. If you shoot that QR code, where I'm just going to drop you on the homepage of Brivity, but there's a big old get a demo button up there at the top. Now, you don't have to get a demo to get this listing presentation. What we're going to do is right when we finish here and Ryan and I hang up, we're going to send it over to the team. They're going to get the recording of this ready for you guys. And then when they send the recording out later today, they will have a link in there where you guys can go and download this file. And essentially what it'll be is it'll bring you in and it'll ask you to make a copy of it as your own Google Google slideshow or whatever, like Ryan's work, and then it'll be editable. You guys can go pull pieces out of it, throw your logo in there, swap out, do whatever you want. Okay, Ryan, man, this guy. Hey, so Ryan just dropped in chat for you guys his phone number. I guess if you want to list your property in Bellingham, call you. Is that why you put your phone number in
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, so guys, I work in Bellingham, Washington, but I help people in all of Washington. So if you have referrals in Washington, that's why my phone number's in there. I'm kidding. My phone number's in there so that you guys can reach out to me directly because I take this very seriously. And frankly, I'm honored that somebody like Bob with his talent and skill set would invite me to talk with you guys. So for joining me today on this, the reason I put my phone number in there is because you can text me. You can call me after this. If you're out on a listing appointment or going on a listing appointment tomorrow or next week, I don't care when it is, it would mean the world to me, honestly, if you shot me a message and said, hey, like I had a question about this, or hey, thank you, like this worked. Share a win with me or ask a question, because I'm here to help. So I put my number in there so that you guys have my direct line and you can contact me with any questions you got after this directly.
Sonny or Ryan, can we take a couple questions now for the next
Definitely.
10 minutes? I do have to jump like hard stop right at the top of the hour, but
Same.
let's go. So Samantha had said, and Samantha, you said, but we're not actually allowed to call them. So we're back to the reverse prospecting thing, and Ryan showing them, hey, I got 1,200 people in here. Says, but we're not actually allowed to call them when we have a signed listing agreement. We can only call them once it's listed, right? And what I would say there, Samantha, is that is generally like an MLS rule, or maybe even potentially a state licensing rule. So there's not one rule that dictates that across the entire United States. Some of the MLSs have like a coming soon concept where once it goes in the MLS, it's not active and I can start to market the property during that 48-hour period or whatever that it's in coming soon. Ryan, what are your guys' particular rules in Washington about what you can say about a listing that you have signed, but it's not listed yet?
It's a no-no. It's just a hard no. Somebody got a fine for that not long ago saying, hey, we have this really cool listing going live tomorrow. So in Washington, where I believe Sam's at, it's a no. It's a big fine. So you can't talk about a listing before it's actually on the market.
All right. So Samantha, so in their case, they're telling them, hey, we're going to get this, these are the 1,200 people we're going to call on Wednesday when we get that house on the market. It's going to be the first thing we do Wednesday morning, right after we hit go on your listing.
Well, and that's a great close, right? Because they're going to say, wow, you have 1,200 people. And you say, yeah, but you know what? I can't call them. I can't let them know about your property until we have a signed agreement and your property's on the market. When do you want to go live, today or tomorrow?
Love it. Love it. Sonny says, then this is particular like your guys' pricing. We got to be careful when we're talking pricing in a group. So this is the first thing I would say, Sonny. The question was, do you guys have a fee schedule or a sliding scale? Commissions are negotiable. That's the first thing I would say. Always the consumer has the right on that side of the transaction to, when he's sitting down with Ryan, say, Ryan, I want to negotiate your commission. Now, what Ryan chooses to do with that is individually up to Ryan. But you guys, I don't think use like a fee, like a list of fees or a sliding scale. Or what's your guys' approach on pricing or on
Commission.
commission? Yeah.
Well, first of all, you're right. Legally speaking, there is no set commission, right? If a seller asks me what the commission is, first of all, I'm trying my best to not answer it. I never talk price or commission on the phone. So when you're talking with somebody on the phone and they say, sure, yeah, come over. Hey, what's your commission? That's a good question. And we're going to review that when we get together in person. It's negotiable. So never talk price or commission over the phone. And when I go through all the value adds, I genuinely believe, Bob, that my team's listing is worth the full 3%. And I'll share that with them, that everything that we do, we're a full service listing team, and it's 3%. Now, if they told me 2.5% or it's a competitive situation, look, I'm taking the listing whatever I need to take it at. That's the bottom line. Now, check with your broker, check with your team. I didn't tell you to take it, but me personally, I am not losing a listing. I'm not losing a listing over a couple bucks, because there's so many benefits that go along with getting that listing, to giving my team open houses, to the market. I mean,
yeah. All right, Vicky, on behalf of Ryan, because I didn't do Jack here, but sit here and watch like you guys did. You're welcome. I think Ryan would say you're welcome. I agree. Like complete polished, Ryan. And again, not the first time you've ever done this. You practiced this before you ever went out and did it the first time. You've now done it hundreds and hundreds of times. Um, so yeah, Vicky, totally agree. Like superb, and I would add polished, Ryan. You can just tell you've done this. Like you're able to go back to places and easily pull out the script. And the reality is, Ryan, and you can tell, but real early you did something that you almost kind of went into Ryan robot real estate agent mode, right? As you were doing that on purpose, but you have committed these things to memory. Like this is essentially just a long script, right? That you know when to shift gears on and when to pull in and out and when to dive deeper on something or skip over something because they don't seem to care about that thing. But definitely like practiced, right? You're not doing like it's a very similar routine on every listing appointment you go on with some variations based on what they're leading into.
I think we have to, Bob. I think, I have a sales kind of in my blood, but I don't rely on that. Like I never ever want to just rely on being good. I want to be great. And the only way to be great is to continue to polish these. I mean, you guys see all this stuff behind me. This is a big whiteboard. This listing presentation was written on this board hundreds of times, like word for word. The way I believe the best way to learn something is you will read it. You will read it out loud. You will then listen to yourself. And while you're listening back to yourself, you will write it out. And that's just how I operate because I don't want to be good, Bob. I can't afford to be good. And none of us can afford to be good in this market. We have to be great. I know when I show up to somebody's house, if somebody's in competition with me, they're going to have a hell of a time beating me because I'm hungry. I'm going to fight hard and they will feel that from me. Right? Like the sale is made with the transfer of energy, guys. You get that? Like all this stuff is helpful, but they can feel it from me. They're like, this guy's hungry. This guy is gonna work hard. This guy, wow, like he's got some good energy towards this.
Totally emote for sure, Andrew, for sure. All right,
Yeah.
Ryan Greigg, you
Bob,
left your
Bob, hey, real quick, Bob, I just want to say thank you to Shonda. I already got a text. Thank you, Shonda. You just made my day. So thank
That's
you.
amazing. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. All right, hey Ryan, I'm just first off, you run an amazing business. And I know that you're very regimented about your prospecting time, which takes place between 9 a.m. and noon Pacific time here in Western Washington. And I today stole you from that time. And I really appreciate you giving it to us because you're one of these guys that's super consistent. You got a lot of routines in your life and your business, but you're always willing to peel off from those and give back to the real estate community. So thank you, Ryan. Appreciate your time today, bud.
My pleasure, Bob. Thanks for having me, and thank you everybody for joining us. Hope you have a
All
great
right, you
day.
guys, stay tuned. The email will show up here by the end of the day with the recording of this call and then a link to where you can go download that presentation that Ryan just went through. Vicky, appreciate you. Thank you, Walter and Tracy, Michelle, Mike. You guys have awesome afternoons. Ryan, we'll talk to you later, bud. Thanks.
Yep. Thanks, Bob. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.